Hey everybody, welcome to American Legends and Myths with Lael and Skakey. This week we're going to change up a little bit. I had technical difficulties on my end, and interview with Zach is going to be pushed back next week. This week, Lael and I will be talking about paranormal and ghosts. Uh, Today, we're going to talk about our own experiences in the paranormal and our own experiences with ghosts. So, Lael, if you'd like to, you can start off with some experiences you've had, and then we can go back and forth.
Well, I know that your experiences are a lot more horrendous than mine, so maybe we should wait and wind up, maybe with uh, just I live on a I don't know, 80, 90 acre farm my granddaddy bought in the 20s, and it's on the creek here near Bath, which has a lot of history. We know the Native Americans were here, and my family's been here 90 years, you know. So after my parents died, we came, my husband, myself, and my son came and moved into their home here on the creek on this property. And just some things that we've had that, for mostly, I feel like it's mom and daddy. I just have a few odd things that have happened. For one thing, and before we had moved here, my mama died a few years before my daddy. My mama had been in bad shape a couple of years, and she had a lift chair. And she died in the hospital about 10:30 ish, in the morning. And that afternoon, the family was here, and my nephew, who was grown, said, "Lael, do you think it'd be all right if I sit in Granny's chair?" And I said, "Well, yes, I think so. Everybody's got to sit somewhere. Granny loved you. I don't see any problem." So he got in her lift chair and put a ball game on TV and laid it back and got the foot up and got all comfortable. This was maybe 2, 3 in the afternoon. Mama had been dead like maybe 5 hours, 6 hours. And he laid all back, got comfortable, and the back of that chair fell out, boom, to the floor with him in it. And everybody was like stunned, and maybe it was coincidence. But how odd was that her chair fell apart, 5, 6 hours after she had passed away. And I took it as Mama saying, "I don't need this chair anymore." So that's one thing. Do you want me to continue, or do you want to?
Oh, go ahead.
Uh,
Pretty cool.
uh, Another thing, well, after my husband and, like I say, my son, after we moved here, right after we moved in, I was putting cans in the kitchen. We have a little pantry closet, with shelves. No, I wasn't putting. I was sitting in the living room and I heard a can fall. And I could tell from the sound of it, it was a can falling off the shelf and hitting the floor in the pantry in that little closet. So I went and I looked and I picked up the can that had fallen and I sat it on top of another can. And I made sure to sit it stable. And I shut the door, came back and sat down, and I heard a can fall again. So I went, and the can had fell over again and was in the floor. So I picked it up, and this time I sat it on top of a bigger can so that, you know, you know how you stack a smaller can on a bigger can. Came back and sat down, and it fell off the third time. I heard a can hit the floor and went and looked. It had fell off the third time, and I said, "Okay, Mama, that's enough." And I put the can back up, and it didn't happen anymore. But that can fell 3 times in a row, and no, I have no witness but myself. But it's strange,
Yeah.
and there are a number of other things strange too, um, that have gone on. My husband was sitting here one night watching TV, and I had gone to bed, and he was facing the TV, was facing the hallway where the bedroom was and the bathroom. And he saw me come out of my bedroom and go into the bathroom as he was watching TV. And after a minute or so, he realized I hadn't come back out of the bathroom. And so he waited another minute, and I didn't come out of the bathroom. So he got up, went and looked, and I wasn't in the bathroom. I was in the bed asleep. So we assume it was my mama. She had slept in that bedroom for a good while. So we assume it was mama coming out of the bedroom going into the bathroom. So, and my husband saw that. And he's not a big believer or disbeliever either way, but he swears. He said, I waited and waited, and you never came out of the bathroom. So I got up to go look, and you were in the bed asleep. That's just a few things. Why don't you add in a couple of your things, and then we'll go back to mine in a little bit.
My first experience was when I was 12 years old. My grandmother had just passed away, and it was just my grandfather and grandmother raised me. And
Yeah.
my cousin, my first cousin, she had come there to stay with us right after she passed. I'm talking within the day after she died. And it was within the day after she died. My bedroom was across from my grandmother's, and my grandfather was at the other end of the house. They were separate bedrooms, and he was in his, I guess he was in his late 70s, and she was in her early 70s.
Yeah.
Um, Middle of the night, my cousin calls me, wakes me up, and I said, "What?" My doors were across from each other. So I said, "What? She said, come here." All right. I got up. I walked across. She said, "Look." And my grandmother had an old wooden rocking chair, and the rocking chair was rocking. And in this rocking chair was a glowing figure, white figure of a lady, and she was knitting or crocheting. Well, my grandmother never did that, but this lady was. I was trying to figure this out. Well, I saw this and I was astonished, and I was like, I'm 12 years old, and I went back to my room. I went back and I was like, you're on your own. So well, later on, I got talking to family members. Well, that room was originally my great grandmother's, who had died at the age of 92, and she did knit. And what we think is she came back to meet my grandmother after my grandmother had passed, and that was her in there. My grandmother to take her on,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of weird, but
Very well could have been.
it
I believe the ones
freaked
that
me out.
before come and need us.
Now, in my family, my grandfather told me a story. My great grandmother on his mother had surgery, and I don't know if it was an appendix operation or a gallbladder. So it was something pretty major back then. It was major,
Oh
not
yeah,
like it is now. I'm talking way back in the 30s or whatever, back in the day.
yeah.
And she had come to, or at some point, and her father had been dead, and she said that he was at the foot of the bed and told her everything was going to be okay. Don't worry, you're going to come through this fine and everything. And she came through it fine. And to the day she died, she swore that she saw him standing there and telling her that she was going to be all right.
He was
Uh,
with my grand my grandmama on my daddy's side had died in the hospital, and they brought her back. And this was in the early 70s. And I was just little, but the family has always talked about it, that the family, came back in the morning, maybe went home at night and came back in the morning, to be with her. You know how you try to stay with family in the hospital. And nobody had told grandmama that she had died and they had brought her back to life. And when the family got there in the morning, they said, grandmama looked at them and said, I died last night. I know I did. And I don't know if anybody remembers if she gave any details of it, or anything, but I do know that she said, I died last night. I know I did. And nobody had told her, so she knew somehow, you know.
yeah, yeah. She
So,
must have experienced something.
exactly. I wish I knew what. Um, but anyway, what else have you got?
I don't talk about it much. I've always had this thing. A lot of people say it's a blessing. I don't know. I think it's more of a curse, where I get images of things from people. And uh, one night, my wife and I were at a bar, and I was talking to this gentleman about this thing, and I was really getting strong vibes from this guy, and I don't know why I was getting bad, strong images. And he put blank said, "Hey, he said, full of crap. That stuff is not real." And I told him, I said, "Man, I'm just telling you, what's happening." He says, "Well, what do you see?" And I said, "I'd rather not say. My wife's in the house. I can bring her out here. She can verify this." And I said, I don't. I'd really rather not say. And he said, "No, tell me." I said, "I see your father laying underneath a tree next to a fence with a rifle. He shot himself." And he looked at it. My father did shoot himself underneath a tree, but there's no fence there. I said, I can only tell you what I see. 2 weeks later, my wife and I go back to that bar, and the guy was in there. He come up to me, and he actually started crying and shook my hand. So I apologized and went back to where I happened. There was a fence there.
Wow.
And I kind of, no need to apologize. I can't tell you, and I can only tell you what I see in these images. And it was really, it's weird. Things happen like that, and I don't know why. Some people, when I get near people, it happens stronger than others. Or if I go into a house, different houses, it happens more than others. It just depends on where I'm at, I guess. I don't know, but it's really weird. It's really weird.
I'm sensitive. I'm very sensitive in some ways, um, to good and bad vibes and negative or positive feelings, but not like you are. And I really am kind of glad because it is a blessing and a curse, and to have what you have, and just ask God to only show you what you can handle or help, you know. And most people out in wherever land are always talking about how come psychics don't win the lottery and this kind of thing. The majority of real, genuine psychics, uh, it doesn't work on them. It only works. It's like Sylvia Brown said once, and was a renowned psychic. She said, "If you lose your pocketbook, I can tell you where to go to find it. But if I lose my pocketbook, it's just lost." You know, because it doesn't work for me on me. But yeah, just you have to. And most psychics are very close to God. Very close to God. You have to be.
I don't talk about it much. I'm very uncomfortable talking about it. You know, I can sit there and talk about Bigfoot all day, and I'd rather talk about something like that than talk about the other because it's just weird to me. You know, I don't know. It's.
Do you know Steve is was have you ever heard if any of your ancestors had any psychic ability?
I, don't
Some in my family have a little here and there, but none of us are really super duper psychics. But that's okay because I think most of us prefer not to be.
I don't even know my father's side of the family. I don't even know that. You know, I only know my mother's side of the family, so I wouldn't even be able to tell you the one side. I don't even know. To be honest, it's hard to say.
Well, you need to look that up.
I've been trying. I can't even find that side. I can. I've got my mother's marriage license. It's got my father's name on it. It's got his father's name on it, his mother's name on it, and that's where it ends. I cannot find anything else. I have tried and tried. Ancestry.com, I've tried anything and everything, but I cannot find nothing. Dead end.
Huh.
I can't even find out my father's
That's odd, isn't it?
social security number on him, maybe, but I can't. You know, without that, I don't have anywhere. I'm at a
Well, don't give up. Um, don't give up because you'll get it figured out one day.
and I apologize for drinking on here, but I'm drinking lemonade. I'm sitting outside. I have dogs inside. They're going to make noise when it's 100 degrees out here.
Okay, let's move on to my son, my son James. After we moved here, he was I think he turned 6 the first summer we were here. So, and most of these things happened in the next 2 or 3 years. So he would have been 7, 8. Was only a few things, but he came one day and said he had seen. Well, I remember what it was. Thought he saw Dad come home, and over by the back door, come through the kitchen, and he ran that way to see Dad, and he come back and said, "Well, I saw Dad come in, but I went and looked, and he's not there. But I know I saw him." And I said, "Well, what did you see?" And he saw a man coming in. We have a little entryway, and short little hall, but then the kitchen. And he said it was a man in a gray coat. And my daddy, his, so to speak, dress up jacket. I mean, he had suits and whatever, but if he went to town out to eat or whatever, he had a nice windbreaker type gray jacket that he wore. And all I could think, otherwise he was a farmer, a fisherman, and but this was his kind of dress up jacket, was a gray windbreaker kind of jacket. And James said, I know I saw a man walk through the door with a gray coat on. And Jimmy wasn't here. It wasn't Jimmy coming home. And I don't know that it was Daddy, but Daddy did have a gray jacket that for years that was kind of, and in the end years, that was kind of his little, you know, if you needed to go to the doctor or go out to eat somewhere or something, that was his little kind of a dress up, you know what I mean, casual.
Yeah.
So I wonder if James saw Daddy come in. And go ahead.
Cool. I'll also tell you a story about Jackie. Jackie, talking about your son, Jackie was pregnant with Tommy, my youngest boy. He's
Yeah,
18 now. Uh,
I know.
he wasn't due yet. It was 3 weeks before he was due, and we were going out on a Friday night, and we were getting ready, and I was laying in the bathtub, and I was taking a bath, getting ready to go. We were going out to a local country bar. Jackie wasn't drinking, but she liked enjoyed singing karaoke and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was laying in the bathtub, and I looked up, and she come in to put her makeup on in the bathroom mirror, and I said, "Oh man." She said, "What?" I said, "We ain't going out tonight." She said, "What do you mean we ain't going out tonight?" I looked at her, and right behind her was a glowing image of a person, a little bigger than her, and I could see the wings come down. And I said, "The angel just brought that baby his soul. We're not going out." She said, "You are full of crap." I said, "I'm telling you, we're not going out." She said, "Come on, hurry up and get out of the tub. Let's go." All right. I got out the tub. I got dressed. I was in the bedroom, finishing getting my shoes on. She come back in there and said, "You're right. Let's go to the hospital." He was born 9 o'clock the next morning. I told you.
How cool was that?
Right behind her, I saw the big glowing image. Right behind her. I mean, I don't know how I saw it, but I could see it. It was like two people standing side by side. I mean, to describe it, other than it was a person and a image of just a light. And I
Yeah.
told her, yep, he was born the next morning at 9:02.
Well, if he was at 37 weeks, that's good enough.
Oh yeah, he was 7 pounds, 4.3 ounces. He was fine. He
Yep.
stayed in there, I think, 2 days and come home. That was
That's cool, Steve.
a experience.
Did you predict any of the other ones, or was he the only one?
They had those before. They were said they were for me.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, that is really cool. Um, you want to go next, or you want me to go?
There's definitely something there, to think that there's not, that we just die and that's it is crazy. There's something more to it.
I
There's,
agree. I agree. As they say, we're not a body with a soul. We're a soul with a body.
You know.
and I believe in reincarnation, and I believe that our loved ones are around us, stay with us for years and years and years, and then may reincarnate. But I also believe in the good Lord and Jesus Christ, 100%.
I hope next time I want to be in. I want to stay wherever I go. As long as heaven, if I can stay there, I'm good. You know, I don't need to come back again.
That's how I
Let's
feel
go around
too.
to enough of this.
That's how I feel too. I feel like I have just been here so many times and I am just tired. I have always felt that way. Now, I don't mean I want to die or anything, you know. I want my young and grown and see my grandbabies, and if I am so blessed as to. But once I go, I don't want to come back. But I think sometimes we do anyway to help others, whatever. We just don't know that that's why we're here again.
You know.
But yeah, I think I'd be just happy to stay on the other side this time.
What
What?
else have you seen? Any other experiences?
Oh yeah. I've got one for you. My aunt lives up uh, we're up a dirt lane, and my aunt still lives at the home place where my daddy was born. He was born in the house there, and um, she still lives in that house. But anyway, and there's a number of odd things up there too,
Wow.
and have been for a long time. But I was sitting here in the living room, and this has been 5 years ago. I was sitting in the living room, and all of a sudden, and I don't remember where she come from, but anyway, it was my aunt. And for one thing, you can't hear if somebody knocks on the back door. I can't hear it a lot of times. And she said, I have been all the way around this house trying to. Where in the hell do you get in? Because this door was locked or that one was locked and I didn't hear a knock. Whatever, what not intentional, but she had come up and gone down to the creek. I live on Bath Creek, and she does too, but she was over here for some reason. And she said she saw me on the front porch. We have a screened in porch. And she said she saw me standing on the porch and she waved at me and I didn't wave back. Now, I was stood, she didn't see me, or whatever, got in the house to talk to me. She didn't wave back. I said, Aunt Becky, I've been sitting in this chair. She said, been on the porch. So I don't know who she saw on the porch. She said, well, it looked like you, kind of built like you. And I said, I don't know, maybe it was Mama. I'm a spirit now, but I've been in the chair 2 hours. I've not been on the porch.
Um,
And that's another odd thing. Another odd thing I'll add right quick is sometimes I'll just walk with the camera and walk around the yard, and we've got I don't know, maybe 5 or 7 acres that the house is on. And then we have some woods and some field, but at the, it's a good darn size yard. And sometimes I'll just take the camera and walk around the yard and take pictures of the creek, of the woods, of whatever around the yard. And I had done that one day, and I had took 12 or 14 pictures. I was walking up from the creek, and we had a burn barrel, and I just was walking up that way, and I said, like I said, I'd already been taking pictures, and I hadn't looked at any of them, but just snapping pictures. And I was walking back toward the house, toward the burn barrel, and I said, Daddy, let me take your picture. And I just aimed straight ahead of me and took a picture. And came in, loaded them up on the computer, and looked at them. And that one last picture that I had said, Daddy, let me take your picture, has a bright spot in it, right in the middle. Now, uh, I'm not saying it was Daddy. I don't know what it was. But of all those pictures, that's the one, and it's got a bright spot in the middle of it. So, maybe I like to think it was Daddy, whether it was or not, you know.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was cool too. We have a lot of odd and end stuff around here. Some of it's notable, some of it's not. But if you live here, I'm sure, anybody at their own house, there's certain things that happen. Lights come on, lights go off. We have that. How did this light get on? That kind of thing.
We see a lot of shadows moving. Jackie sees them and I and both out of the corner of our eyes. We catch it move, something move. This trailer, 1965, came out of Baltimore. We don't know the history of it, but it's really weird.
Well, and it doesn't, it may be the history of the trailer or it may be the land
I don't know.
or both.
The
You
people that lived here before us, they said they never see anything or have any weird things. I don't know.
But also, Steve, some people are more susceptible to it.
You know,
Spirits will go to people who are more, what's the word I'm looking for? Psychic, yes, but that's not actually the word.
like
People who have some intuition and are open to it a little bit more. You know, it's strange. I certainly do think Mom and Daddy are around here.
I
Daddy
feel,
was,
I feel my
yeah,
grandfather a lot.
yeah. Every time I bend over and and look in that pantry, I feel my mama inside me. 'Cause I've seen her do it so many times. You bend over to look for a certain can of beans or a certain something. And now I'm 50, I'll bend over and look at that bottom shelf and I can feel her in me, know, and I can still hear her call my name, you know,
Uh,
just the way she always did, you know. Too.
that's cool. Man, my dog's raising hell.
Do what?
These tree frogs are normal. Hear 'em.
Oh, we have a ton of frogs too. I can't hear them on your end, but we have on the creek. We have a ton of frogs too. I find one in the pool every so often. How long have we been on?
34 minutes.
All right, let me see if I've got anything else on my list. Oh, I've got one more thing. James came out of his room one day when he was about 7 or 8 and said, "Mom, a black car just drove by my window." And I said, "What kind of car?" He said, "A black car." And he wasn't old enough to. I was trying to find out, was it like a 1940s car or a 1990s car? You know,
Uh,
a new car, an old car. But he said, "I saw a black car drive by my window." You could drive by his window, and then you would have to stop, or you would run down a cliff into the creek. And there's no road there, never has been any road there because it goes straight to the creek. And of course, I went and looked, and there was no car there. And I know he wasn't lying to me. And I couldn't figure out if it was old car, new car, whatever. So anyway, another 8 months or a year later, to pick something up in his pickup truck. And I was sitting here, and because I can see out the end of the driveway to the dirt lane from where I sit, and a car went by the windows. And it was kind of funny because the way it seemed to go by, there wasn't quite, it was near a path you could drive across the yard, but not exactly. And it looked like a small SUV type thing, and it was dark blue. And I thought, oh, well, and I knew he had like a black truck, and this was a dark blue SUV type thing. But I saw it go by, and it was so vivid and clear, and I thought, oh, it must be going around to the front door. I got up and went and opened the front door and went out and looked. There was nothing there. Nothing. Nobody, nothing. And and I was like stunned a minute because I knew it was vivid enough that I said, "Oh well, here he is. He must be going to the front door." And I got up and went to the front door, and there was nothing there. And like I say, I stood there, a minute or whatever, and figured out that apparently it wasn't him, and he wasn't here. And I came back and sat down, and in 2 minutes, he and his black truck turned up the end of the driveway. Still don't know what it was or why it was, but that's two vehicles. And then I really believed James. I believed him to start with.
yeah.
James has seen and reported things before that were believable.
Huh.
And I believed him when he said the black car went by his window. And this was within a year, maybe a year later tops. And like I said, Steve, it was just I got up and went out the front door to meet him. That's how clear it beats me. I have no idea, but the vehicle I saw was now this vehicle. It wasn't old. It was like a 80s or a 90s,
Yeah.
You know, just a SUV, four door.
Wow.
Don't have any witnesses. But believe me or not, either way, it's up to you. But
Well,
that's I've got some other things, but that's the biggest things we've got. What else you got?
I've got about two things left, and you know, I mean, you probably, I mean, but
Well, you talk about what you want to, and if you don't want to talk about it, don't. That's up.
I mean, I never really talked about it till here lately, and I'm alright with it now. So,
Well,
the
that's
house we lived in Southern Maryland, my grandfather built. There was no reason for it to be haunted or nothing like that. Nobody actually died in the house. But that
but
was the same house we saw my great grandmother in the rocking
but,
chair we're talking about.
but remember, Steve, the land.
And
It could be left over from the land. Go ahead.
I,
You're cutting out a little bit.
I had an apartment in the basement of the house. Jackie and I lived when we first got married. And her and I and the kids were playing Yahtzee one night, and the paper, one of the Yahtzee papers, actually got up and moved across the table, and then sat right back down. And that was really wild. It scared the heck out of the kids.
I guess so.
Uh, in bed about 2 o'clock in the morning, maybe 3 o'clock. About 3 o'clock in the morning, I was laying in bed. Jackie was beside me, and I woke up. Something woke me up. I woke up, and when I come to, I realized I had to get up and take a whiz. So I went to get up, and as I went to sit up, I was thrown back down, and all of a sudden I hear this laughing. What the hell is that? What did
You're breaking up.
get a storm? This face appeared in front of me, and the only way I can describe this face is it was a human-shaped head. It had sheep's wool for hair. It had a pig snout. It had eyes like a snake, and it had sheep horns that wrapped up and around.
Uh huh.
And every time I went to get up, it would throw me back down and laugh. And it had the smell of and I tell you, it smelled like burnt flesh. And I know what burnt flesh smells like because I was a fireman. And it smelled like burnt flesh.
Oh Lord.
Finally, I got to where I said the Lord's Prayer. I was starting to panic. I said the Lord's Prayer, and it laughed, and it threw me back down. Finally, on the third time I said the Lord's Prayer, it disappeared, and I got up. I sat up. I got up out of bed. By this time, I'm looking around every corner going to that bathroom, and I'm telling you, I'm waiting for this thing to jump out at me and freak me and scare me, just scare the hell out of me. Never saw it again after that. Back, back. I want to say in my dreams, but I had seen it like once or twice. Talked to a pastor, and he told me what to do. I did what I had to do, and I haven't had a problem with it since.
Good.
But it was real. I know it was real, and I don't want to see it again.
No. And yeah, the Lord's Prayer was the best thing you could do.
It's the only thing I knew to go to.
Oh yeah.
But I had to say it 3 times, but every time I said it, they just laughed. And I'm gonna tell you, if I stopped, I got thrown back. It was nothing I could do. I never saw anybody. All I ever saw was its head. Its head just laughed. It just laughing. gross. It was a gross. It was just a disgusting thing. You know.
I'm sure. Good Lord. And that's why I have a Bible in every room of my house and a little New Testament in my pocketbook. So anywhere I am, anywhere I go, I have a Bible within reach. Yep, and the Lord's Prayer was the best you could do.
So when I tell somebody I've been face to face with a demon, I sure the hell ain't scared of you. I really mean it.
Yeah, big time.
Man,
I'm sorry you had to go through that, Steve, but you beat it.
there's more to the story. It's kind of funny. There is more to the story, to be honest. The next, I was involved in the things when that happened. But the next day, I wound up. I had a pond on the property, and I used to go down fishing and things. I went down there, and I hadn't been like the you know, it got in my life really a whole lot. But I went down there and I talked to him, and I said, "I'll tell you what. If you're trying to get my attention, or if you need me to do something, you tell me what you want me to do. Show me what you want me to do, and I'll do it." The next day, I went on Craigslist and I found this house. I called the guy, and that week I bought this house.
Yeah,
Week of like Jack.
you're cutting out. Say it again.
I said within a week, my mother didn't know we had got this place. Within a week of me buying it, my mother kicked me and Jackie out. She didn't know we had bought this place.
Oh,
So it was kind of, weird that we had bought it and didn't tell nobody. And then my mother says, well, we had a big fight and blow up and she kicked us out. And not
well,
knowing we had someplace to go.
yeah.
But
Well,
we did.
you were getting ready to go anyway. Your mom just didn't know it yet.
No, no, no. And it's just kind of weird. And when we got here, we found friends from down there that up there in the past turned out to be. Uh, Jackie grew up with his kids. He was, somebody Jackie had known her whole life. And it's kind of weird how everything transpired. To come that far and then.
Yeah.
And now we go to this church and all, and it's really kind of funny. It's not. It's really weird. It's weird. So for whatever reason, we were brought here, and that's just it's great.
Well, God takes us where we need to go. Um, Even if we don't think it's where we need to be or want to be, it's for our best in the long run. And he sent y'all a good place to go, and you've been happy there for many years.
I'm not perfect. I'm far from it. I'm just, it is what it is.
Yeah, I know. Nothing to do but hang in there day by day, ask God to help us,
If
lead
if
us.
he if he hadn't given up on me after what I've done in my life, and and I guess I'm all right. So
God's never gonna give up on you. You know that.
I guess everything's good. Well,
If he could turn you around, Steve, he can turn around anybody.
you, well,
All right.
Anyway, you have any other stories you want to bring up, or
Well, not right offhand. I could think about it and come up with some other things, but we can save that for another night.
that's fine.
You got anything else you want to share?
Nah, we got a good show right here.
Other than as a Bigfoot throw the rock at you tonight, like you did last night?
God. Very
Well, we'll try next week to get together with Zach
we'll get that next week and get that done.
and talk about his local knowledge of Mothman, kind of have a Mothman too. And then if we have time and want to, we can talk about his Bigfoot encounters and stuff too.
Yep, that sounds good. Sounds good. Taking minutes of these people's time.
Yes, let's hush and let everybody go. Thank everybody that watches and listens, and please give us a like. If you got something ugly to say, that's okay. Say it politely.
Like,
Otherwise,
share, and subscribe.
like, share, and subscribe. All right. Night, night, everybody. Thanks for joining.